Good morning, everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. In this video, we're going to cover the removal and replacement of a ignition switch and also the wire harness pigtail repair in my 1995 Mazda Miata MX-5, sometimes called an NA8. Without further ado, let's get started. So first, let's talk about symptoms as to what might make you think that your ignition switch is going bad. So the ignition switch has basically all the controls that come into the column run through it. So if you're finding that your headlights won't work, or maybe your radio won't stay on, or your wipers don't work, or you have to jiggle the key to get it to turn over and crank. You know, sometimes it won't crank. All of these things could be symptoms of a bad ignition switch. And we'll get into that a little more in a second. But before we do anything, because we're also going to be doing wire pigtail work, we need to go disconnect the battery so we don't accidentally touch something to something and cause a fuse to pop or something like that. And if you have never worked on your Miata before, the battery, on the first generation at least, is located in the trunk on the passenger side. We just need to disconnect one of the two. So we're going to disconnect this should be our positive here. And let me go get the tool for it. That's, I don't know, about a 12 or a 13 millimeter. Get that off. Okay, so ignition switch is here, right? Oh, that's where your key cylinder is. The ignition switch is on the other side. In fact, you can see it in my car because I don't have the center plate because my little things are broken. But this guy right here, that is your ignition switch. It's on the other side. But in order to get it out, we're going to have to take some plastics off. You would normally be taking off this center kick plate that goes below the steering wheel. There are two screws that hold it in at the bottom. I cannot attach mine because those screw holes are busted off, so I have this. The other thing we need to do is to take the upper and lower collar off of the steering column. So here's your upper, and then right here is the lower. And I'm gonna swing the camera around so you guys can see it, but there are four, I don't know if I quite have them or not, but there are four screws that need to come out down here. Hopefully that had the four you need. Remember, these are all going to be JIS standard screws. If they're not crazy tight, you can use a number 2 Phillips, not a problem. But if somebody put it in there really tight, you're going to want to go get a JIS standard screwdriver or you're going to be in trouble. So let's get these out. And then we need to let the lower collar just drop. Okay, once you have those four out, you may have to wiggle a little bit, but the lower collar should just drop out of the way. You don't have to remove the upper collar. I mean, you're gonna have to piece it back together and then screw it back together when you're done, but you can just let this sit and chill. All right, so now we have really excellent visibility on our ignition switch right there. Now, I'm gonna go, that's a brand new one, as you can see, because I thought I just had an ignition switch problem, but I saw later that it's a little bit more than that. So let me show you my old ignition switch, which I kept. So the yellowing is just due to age. That's not anything particularly good or bad. But you see that? See that black? See the black in there? She got hot on those two terminals over time and stuff got burnt. And you'll see the rest of that whenever I disconnect this here. If you get a tool right in there and just push, it'll separate pretty easily. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that so I can show you. All right, check it out. See, this is why we're doing some wire work today. This pigtail is damaged. As my son likes to say, it's cooked. It is very cooked. If my camera will behave. So we actually have some pins burnt. You know, we've got that going on. So I actually have a new pigtail, which Mazda does not make. You got to get it from somebody at a salvage yard. And I'm going to chop this off and put a new one on. And we'll get to that in a second. But for now, we're going to talk about getting this off. You see there's one little screw there? Well, that's it. You just take that one screw out, it'll come off, which I'll go ahead and do that for the sake of doing it. Now, to get that off, you're going to need some form of a 90-degree Phillips tool. A stubby screwdriver will not get it done. You don't have enough room. You have to have this. It should not be in tight. If you have some kind of a small low profile ratchet with a Phillips adapter on it, that'll work too. But something like this is what you're going to need to get that out. So let me get that out, and then we can compare the old and the new switch. Once you have the screw out, you just pull it out. Oh my, that's not supposed to happen. Cheap construction, I guess. This is a brand new OEM from Mazda switch, by the way. I wanted to inspect the contacts, and the contacts still look really good. But yeah, I didn't know that would slide on and off. That's a thing. Wonder that. Yeah, maybe. I think they cast it as one piece, or not cast, that's the wrong word, but set the mold that way. But we've got, two definite burn marks inside of there. This one is good so far. I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to take it back out, as you can see, and then we're going to focus in on that pigtail and get that patched up. But if you're only watching this video in order to change out this switch, well, you're done. You just put your new one in, put your set screw in there, so it'll hold it in there, and just put all your plastics back together. Done. Life is good. If you need to do a pigtail, like I do, keep watching, because we're going to take care of that. Okay, here's our new pigtail. I put some electrical tape here because when they went to pull this out of, I guess, a wrecked Miata, they started to pull it back here and then they stopped, so they cut the insulation. This is from the factory, and in some cases it is because they spliced in, you have two going into one, as you can see. So they did crimps to make that work. And on this guy here, I don't know why they did that. It's a single, I'm guessing that's the ground. Just one single wire, but this is what you get. This was not particularly easy to find. Probably you need to find a Miata in a salvage yard and then make a request. Either you get in there and cut this, or you make the request of the salvage company to cut this for you, because they will take requests on stuff that they don't have as like a regular item sometimes. Anyway, I have done many other videos where I have spliced together wires. We're gonna pick where we're gonna cut, and then I have some tools which are over there. They're my splicing tools. Got some tape, got cutters, and then I have new butt connectors, which is how I prefer to do this. They are marine butt connectors, so once everything's connected, I put some heat on it. They shrink to keep moisture and contaminants out. So that's what we're doing next. We're gonna make the repair, put it all back together, see what we get. So kind of give you some updates. We're about halfway through. All right, here's our new one. we have working on my third connection, which is the third one in the bottom in the back. And I noticed a couple of things. This must have come from a different year of Miata, because the locking mechanism on the connector is different. All right, there's my original. There's the new one. And this one had some double wire splices in it, and my ignition harness does not have that, so I cut those out. Not sure if somebody added those or whatever Miata this came from required them, but mine doesn't. So just going one by one so that way I don't mess up the wires. And it's kind of tedious, but if you've got the right tools, this is a crimper tool for butt splices. Works pretty well. This is a stripping tool, an automatic stripping tool. You just adjust it, pull it, strips the wire for you nice and neat and clean. Makes life so much better. And then I've got just a big old pile of various sizes of butt splices, and you can get that on Amazon for cheap. And works pretty well. So keep chewing on this, and before we do the heat shrink on these, we will reconnect the battery and give her a try. Make sure that everything's working as it should, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, I've gotten everything wired and plugged in, but we don't have our shells back on, and we don't have, you know, I haven't cleaned everything up, so. Okay, so we get, I put the battery back on, and I had to adjust some stuff back there when I did that, but you get it. Oh, there's a clamshell in the way of the clutch pedal. Let's fix that real quick. Okay. Yeah, there's my squeaky belt I need to fix. But we cranked. So do we have wipers? Sure. Do we have signals? Sure. Do we have headlights? Sure. Do we have high beams? Hey, we got both high beams. I thought I had one dead. I guess it was that bad switch. Nice. Got high beams, low beams. Got maintenance. And we're running just fine, so I'm gonna call that a success, that we've gotten everything wired back up appropriately. Pull this key out so it doesn't make a ridiculous amount of noise. And there's our setup. You know, there's all of our various splices that I need to heat shrink down. So I'll pull it back out so I can get better access, and I'll heat shrink all this. It's not pretty, but it'll work. And I also noticed the tab is broken, the locking tab. It still fits in there really tight, and if I'm super worried about it, I'll put a little drop of RTV right there to act as a removable glue, or even some glue from a hot glue gun would do it. But overall, pretty happy here. We got the wiring job done, and I wound up fixing a wiring job in the trunk. I'll bring you back to let you see how it all looks once I get it all cleaned up. All right, here's how we look with our collar put back together. Should be nice and solid. Remember, you have, it's 3 screws and 1 bolt. In my case, someone had already shoved a screw up in there, so now it's 4 screws. But that's how you look. Looks all pretty. This does not look so pretty. I need to figure out how to clean that up, but there we go. And we already tested everything, and we did a test crank. We'll see if it did indeed fix my intermittent no start issue. Only way to tell is just drive it and see what happens. But in any case, that's all right, folks. We're done for this particular episode. We did a remove and replace on our ignition switch, and we also, for those who stayed for that part of it, we redid the pigtail, the wiring pigtail that goes into said ignition switch on my 1995 Mazda Miata MX-5. And I hope you learned something. If you did, like, share, subscribe. Helps me to grow the channel. And I'll catch you guys next episode.